Now I cannot believe that I'm making this video, but strikers in football have changed, and I think they have actually changed for the worse. Now previously I made a video talking about why I thought that strikers aren't the same anymore, and in all honesty this video was a way for me to cope with the current situation that we are in. And after rewatching that video myself and then seeing the strikers that Arsenal are linked with this summer, I've decided it's time to make another video on this topic. So it's time to swallow my pride and accept that strikers are really not evolving. Darwin Núñez is definitely not world class, and there's about 5 strikers on the planet that are noteworthy. Now let's take a step back into the 2010s, which was a golden era for strikers. We had bundles of bagsmen that set the benchmark for the strikers that we have today. During the last decade, we can see that the average goals per game was 0.75. In the top 5 leagues in Europe, strikers were scoring at 0.75 average chance. That means they were scoring every 3 in 4 chances that they got. But after the last few seasons, that exact stat has gone down to 0.60, a clear decline in the position of the striker's effectiveness. Now one major reason for this decline is the overall evolution of modern football tactics. The likes of Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp popularized the tactic of a high pressing game, where a team's defense actually starts from the front of the pitch, which therefore has increased the workload on strikers, making them over time less focused on purely scoring goals. Now the role of a striker has also evolved. Strikers today are just expected to be more versatile. They're not just goal poachers anymore. They need to assist, they need to trap back, and they need to create space for their teammates with diversion runs. All these new functions has diluted their sole objective, which was to score goals. And in my previous video on this topic, I did discuss this, highlighting how modern strikers have to drop into deep pockets on the pitch to pick up the ball and help their teammates, which wasn't common about a decade ago. Right now in the comments below, name me a striker that you can confidently say is world class. A complete striker, a guy that is going to get you a goal no matter whether you're losing, drawing or winning. Instantly people will say the likes of Harry Kane, Haaland, Osimhen, Lautaro Martinez, Gyökeres, Sesko, Olivier Watkini. But none of these except Kane could even touch the greatness that was the strikers of the previous decade. The likes of Suarez, Van Persie, Cavani, Fernando Torres, David Villa, Samuel Eto'o, Ibrahimovic, Lewandowski, Benzema. But it's just not fair to compare the new strikers to the ones of old. Because let's just take a striker that played in both of these eras. A striker that was not only a pioneer of the 2010s, but is also still playing to this day. Robert Lewandowski is a striker that most football fans seem to forget. But after 557 goals in 756 games, I think you shouldn't really be forgetting his name. But even while being a prolific striker in both eras, his goal scoring rate has dropped. And even though it's a slight drop and he still performs exceptionally, it just goes to show that if one of the best strikers of the previous decade's goal rate is dipping because of new systems, then all strikers in the entire era are going to dip as well. Lewandowski's slight dip in goal scoring rate mirrors the entire era and the overall trend that strikers are getting worse, and this is because of the new methods of play. And in conclusion, I think that the top comment of my last video pretty much sums up the entire topic to a T. Now yesterday I posed a question on my community tab asking you guys to name me your favorite strikers from the 2010 era and why. Mainly because my whole argument in the video that you're watching right now is that the old strikers of the 2010 era are way better than the ones we have today. Now Mr. RVQTXR, and if I say that correctly, Tuxverdu, has said that Drogba was a beast at the time. He carried Chelsea to UCL finals and won them one as well. What an absolute legend. Now I can completely agree with this comment. Drogba was one of my favorite strikers of the 2010 era, and he was just a beast in general. But in terms of his goal to game ratio, he has one of the lowest in terms of the top 50 strikers during this era. But what I can say is Drogba was a very, very clutch player, so what a shout from you. Fabrizio says Diego Costa and slaps a bear emoji because this guy was an absolute beast. I remember watching Diego Costa in that Chelsea side. That one season where Fabregas was in that Chelsea side and he was putting up balls, you know, up to the top of the pitch to Diego Costa. Diego Costa was holding off his man, spinning him and just finishing in the back of the net. I have never seen an archetype of striker like that in the Premier League since, and even, you know, during my time watching football, he has been such a unique build of striker, not even having too much pace, having that strength and ability to just turn his man marker and finish opportunities time and time again. Ronaldo Nazario Football says that Lewandowski was really good. His highlights are just unbelievable, and I'm surprised less people mentioned him here. I didn't even see this comment before obviously editing this video, but Lewandowski was one of the main pointers in why I made it. An unsung hero in terms of strikers in world football, and I think he needs way more recognition. It's just stupid that when he comes up in these arguments of who are the best strikers in, you know, football of all time, he never really gets respect on his name just because he did it for the majority of his time in the Bundesliga. But clearly the Bundesliga is a league that we should be respecting, because in the last 10 years, how many times have teams from the Bundesliga made it to the Champions League final? Now Dylan Addison says Bas Dost, and this is a guy that I remember vividly from FIFA. Now Marley Bashaj 1069 says everybody mentioned Suarez, Ibra, Cavani, etc. But nobody, not even most Barcelona or Atletico fans, mentioned David Villa. He wasn't really a typical number 9, usually playing down the left at Barcelona, while Messi played down the middle. But oh man, was he a beast. Leagues, UCL, Euros, World Cup, he won everything while playing a major role. And if he had played in a different era with different teams, not overshadowed by Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, Torres, etc., he would be considered a top 15 striker of all time without a doubt. Now this is a comment that I can absolutely. Ron2K2 is another guy that talks about Lewandowski, saying for sure his flair, precision, and the fact that you could rely on him in a clutch game whenever it's needed was just beautiful, and his consistency even till this day is no joke at all. Even though my argument in this video is that Lewandowski, you know, his numbers has slowly dropped off, bro has still got something like 53 goals since starting for Barcelona. That is an amazing rate. So even though he has declined a bit because of the systems and tactical shifts, he's still Lewandowski. This guy will score wherever he goes. Dave Roy says that Suarez was one of, if not the best strikers in this era. He had a sublime finishing rate, link-up play, and was a workhorse who would do anything for the team. And I personally think he is the best striker of the 2010 era of football and would have won 1 or 2 Ballon d'Or had it not been for the 2 greatest players playing at the same time as him. Now Mick says, crazy no one mentioned El Tigre himself. Falcao was an absolute monster and had everything. Now, Falcao had it all, and his build was just one of my favourites, being agile on the feet but strong enough to hold off his man, but also being a guy that likes to utilise my favourite finish in the game. The chip shot was one of his, you know, timely finishes that he would use time and time again. And I think his performance against Man City in the Champions League that one season when he was playing for Monaco sums him up perfectly. So yeah, monster of a player and amazing. Now this guy says, Jib, been watching your videos for the last 4 months and love the content. This is Steve from Johannesburg, South Africa. Now shout out to Steve. He also said below Cavani. Cavani is one of my favorite strikers. So shout out to Steve and the whole of South Africa, and shout out the World Cup that happened in 2010. Now thank you for everyone for getting involved, and make sure you join the community if you want to get even more involved with all the polls and everything to do with this channel. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the video. And in conclusion, I think that the top comment of my last video pretty much sums up the entire topic to a T. This perfectly sensible and well thought out take needs to be hung somewhere in a museum. So yeah guys, let me know if you enjoyed this video. Comment some strikers that are playing today that remind you of players of the past. And of course, this has been Jib Rules, back with another video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and of course, stay blessed, stay safe, and peace.